I call them crazy news from Russia. The news that matter and that you will not find in any Western mainstream media. What's really going on in Russia? That type of news. I give them to you every Friday, and this is week 28 in review. Moscow is flooded again. Russian senators will carry AK 47s for personal protection from enemies of Russia. People in the southern city of Krasnodar are protesting right now against electricity blackout, and a few million Russians have been affected. Poor Russians near St. Petersburg receive assistance from local government. Heinz garlic sauce. YouTube slowdowns testing has begun in Russia, and the biggest news of the week is that week 28 was the worst one for Russia so far. The country is being hit by the perfect storm, and I give you the evidence. Howdy, howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Welcome to Fridays. Well, today is Saturday. I usually give you this news on Fridays, so welcome to the weekend. I give you crazy news update straight out of the mad circus that Russia has become. Before I start, I must apologize. Well, most of today's week's news aren't what you can call pleasant, optimistic, or rosy. I tried to find optimistic news, but I couldn't. The economic tsunami has finally landed in Russia. It's being seen everywhere. You know, the most difficult part has turned out to be living through it. I didn't think it would be that hard for me. I see tragedies happening on every corner now in Russia, and reporting them is affecting me more than I thought it would. Seeing your country go into hell and not knowing what's going to happen and knowing that it's deserved going to hell is painful. So I apologize for this news, but this is what Russia is turning on into. And it'll be more and more news like that every single week. Heck, every single day. I am chronicling the demise of the country that used to be called Russia. And this has been the worst week so far. Let's get straight to the point. Let me start with Mother Nature news, and it's Moscow again. Check out this apocalypse picture. Well, pictures, videos. The guy is saying the cars are swimming. Now, this is very odd. There have been 4 weather events like this in 2024 so far in the summer. Usually, it doesn't happen that often. Usually, it's once every 2 years. Yes, heavy rains happen, but not too extreme and not that often. And floodings, literally, flooding like that every 2 years. This year is very unusual. And yes, I am expecting waters of Moscow River turning blood and locust coming after. And I'm serious, there's something up in the air. This doesn't happen in Moscow. Had it happened in the past, I would ask, what so terrible Russians did so they send these cataclysms? No need to ask now, I know. The next news is about weapons. As you know, as you might know, weapons in Russia is something that you don't hear often about because it's a taboo. It was a taboo in the USSR and it is a taboo in Russia. Owning guns is strictly prohibited by law. Owning a gun would send one to prison for longer than committing a first-degree murder. In Russia, owning a firearm is a crime bigger than murder. Why is that so? You see, there's a tiny little difference between an unarmed person and an armed person. Well, a huge difference, really. It's much more difficult to control and abuse an armed person than an unarmed person. Makes sense, right? And the last week in Russia also was odd. It was an exception. We heard about guns a lot. Russian parliament proposed to allow the senators to own and carry firearms. The proposal was made by the Senator Sultan Hamzayev. He is sure that the senators are in danger of and possible provocations from enemies of Russia. Mr. Hamzayev also noted that not all senators can afford personal protection, so they need to carry firearms. That is a very interesting development, but that's not the end of it. Russia's Federal Riot Police, Rosgvardia, proposed to allow owning and issue handguns and machine guns to the employees of Russia's central bank. The deputy chairman of the central bank and their advisors, department directors and their deputies were offered permission to carry weapons this past week, including handguns and machine guns. The head of the central bank, Elvira Nabiulina, is not on the list of those who are offered weapons. It makes sense as she's heavily protected by a team of personal bodyguards. And when the state tries to arrest her, and that day might come, those bodyguards will easily change to her jailers. Imagine if she carries a gun that could that could complicate her arrest. Okay, so understood. Among those executives eligible to carry firearms are the first deputy chairman of the central bank, Olga Skorobogatova, Dmitry Tulin, Vladimir Chistyukhin, then deputy chairmans, Chairman Philip Gabuonier, Alexei Guznov, Alexei Zabotkin, Olga Polikova, Sergei Belov, and a few other names. So the central office of the regulator includes 45 divisions and departments. So what kind of guns they will be given? A Makarov pistol, Russian-made, Yarugin pistol, also Russian-made, several types of Glock pistols, Cedar, Vites, and Cypress submachine guns, Kalashnikov assault rifles of various series, including AK-74, AKMS, AK-103, AK-205, and so on. PKM machine gun, that's upgraded Kalashnikov machine gun, and PKMS. For about 30 years, Russian senators were feeling perfectly safe. All was nice and dandy. Now, all of a sudden, they're not feeling safe any longer. Mind that they're protected by a federal law that makes them untouchable. Physically touch a senator in Russia and you commit a felony. So I wonder why they aren't feeling safe any longer. I mean, they all supported and authorized Russia attacking Ukraine 2 years ago. Moreover, they supported and authorized Russia annexing 4 Ukrainian provinces a year and a half ago. Russian president said it was all made with one purpose, to make Russia safer. And now they're requesting to be able to carry AK-47s or 74s, whatever, and the Glocks. Glocks are made in Austria, a NATO member, by the way, for their own protection, and they are darn right. The situation has gotten to a point where it would be logical for them to start carrying firearms because it's not safe anymore. I agree. And look at the next news and you will understand why. Right now, as I'm saying that, people of Krasnodar, that's a 1 million people city in southern Russia, are taking it to the streets to protest mass blackouts, electricity blackouts. Most haven't had electricity for over 2 days. It is 41 degrees Celsius in Krasnodar right now. It's a southern city and it gets hot. 105 Fahrenheit. Check this out. There you go. Police protecting people. They're not political protesters, you know. They're not Navalny supporters, nothing like that. They don't have electricity, the utility that they're paying for. They're chanting, turn electricity on, turn electricity on. I take it there are sporadic groups of people everywhere, all over Krasnodar, getting together. They were getting together earlier today. People screaming, you have no respect for us. And then this fella must be a representative of an energy company or local administration trying to make his point. He promises them that he's gonna stay there until electricity is back on. And he's telling them that, you know, it's not our fault, it's too hot, the system is overloaded. Rostov nuclear power plant has shut down and so forth, one of the blogs. Says, give us some food for our children. It says, you are asking me to do that? Why? And he doesn't understand. And anyway, so this goes on and goes on. Again, this isn't political protesting. People are demanding electricity, something they're paying for. They are being arrested for that. Please understand that this is just one city, albeit the big one. The official information that there are a few million people in the south of Russia are currently don't have electricity. A few million people. And that is coming from the official propaganda, you know, official media. It means that in reality, there's many more people. But to me, it's unthinkable even hearing a number of a few million people from them. I've never heard this before. Now, it is absolutely clear why Russian senators and central banks management are concerned for their safety and asking for firearms. And I would be concerned too if I was them. They might get away with electricity and other problems. For now, it's summertime and people aren't freezing to death, you know. But oh boy, the winter is coming. The general frost is coming and it's brutal in Russia. The real question is, will the handguns really help the senators? Please let me know what you think. Down below in the comments, your feedback is absolutely priceless. Thank you. Another news is both interesting and innovative. The head of one of the country's provinces called Komi, no, not like communism, but Komi, Komi. Yeah, it's a funny name, right? So he proposed to restrict children's access to the internet in order to protect them from gambling, watching porn, and making unwanted acquaintances. Vladimir Uiba said at the meeting of the family council that of the province that the internet is becoming a threat to minors, children. According to Uiba, he is appealing to the country's top leadership with an initiative to block off the internet altogether. I quote Uiba: "We need to ban the internet once and for all because today it is the terrible tragedy happening with our children and we are witnessing it. Children go headlong into the internet. Some become gamblers, some become addicts, some become users of all sorts of porn sites. Some correspond with adult men who pretend to be a boy or a girl, and then everything often ends with corruption, molestation. In general, if we recall our happy childhood in the Soviet Union, we were really happy people." Whoa. Do you really think that Uiba is really concerned about safety of our children? In my humble opinion, not. Not in the slightest. He gave himself away by his last sentence. He's a part of the narrative of Russian government, that the narrative Russian government is pushing, how great it was back in the USSR. Only Uiba has taken it further. He's claiming that we were happy in the USSR because we didn't have internet. I don't know what to say. I'm confused. I am a witness. Folks, I remember the USSR. I was born and I was raised in the USSR. One of the most wonderful things I had in my life was when I moved to the USA in 1996, I was introduced to internet. Everyone was using it already by then. And I think it's the best thing that happened to me and to us. It's given us access to information. And it is my responsibility as a parent to safeguard my children from the dangers of the internet. Yes, it does bring certain dangers, like everything else. You know what? When I was a child, I used to ride a bicycle. Do you know how many times I fell down when I was learning? Quite a few. And then, I can't say that I was a very responsible bicycle rider, and of course we had no clue what the helmets were, okay? So I had pretty bad accidents, okay? Does it mean that our parents needed, or the government needed to ban bicycles from our life? Okay. Friends, do I remember that music or what? Some people who we never met way in the past decided what was good or bad for us. The Politburo, the commies, the KGB. For us, the people, as if they knew what was good for us or what was bad for us. As if they knew better than us, and they have complete power over us. And that is the smell of the USSR, and that crap stinks. Well, Russia, July 2024. The stink is back, and who would have thought? Another news. It's from the dark corners of Russia's lawmaking. I remember over the past few years, I've been telling how Russian government have been changing the country's stepping stones. And the very foundation of that change has been legislation, changing legislation, amending laws, creating new laws. Well, this is the news about that. Bloggers or vloggers or anyone who is online, influencers, I think that would be a better word, influencers with audience of 10,000 subscribers or more will be obliged to transfer data, share data about themselves to Roskomnadzor, Russian Information Watchdog Agency. In case of non-compliance with the requirement, a channel or page of such influencer may be blocked. The bill is scheduled to be discussed next week. Folks, not for breaking law, not for saying something offensive, not for saying something illegal. They want to have complete control of influencers, bloggers, vloggers, for mere reason of being interesting and reaching out to people. They have this new law allowing to block the influencers. Complete control. So this bill will be scheduled to discuss next week. But does anyone want to make a bet with me? I bet $1,000 that soon that law will be made. So if you want to bet, let me know down below in the comments. Forget about 1984. This is 2024, and this is much scarier. If George Orwell were alive and were looking at today's Russia, I think he would have had a hard time believing what's happening in July of 2024. Actually, the next news is about, how do I say that? Repentance and praying, and peace and safety. Finally, getting down to the roots of Russia's problems. Someone is getting down to the very roots. Someone understands where the problems of people, regular people, coming from. Well, at least the roots of the problems of some regions in Russia. For example, Belgorod's problems. You know, Belgorod, Russian city on the border with Ukraine, right next to Kharkiv, that's become the war zone. I must admit, I thought all the problems in Belgorod are taking roots in the war that Russia is waging on Ukraine. Because I visited Belgorod many times before the war, and I visited Kharkiv many times, and, you know, no problems. Nice, prospering city, one of the best cities in Russia, Belgorod was. But Russian Orthodox Church officials have different opinion. Please welcome Pope Andrei Tkachev, the archpriest, and the host of Tsargrad TV channel. And check out what he said.
А что же Белгород? Как же Белгород? А Белгород, друзья мои, должен с утра до вечера молиться Иосафу Белгородскому, чтобы он защитил свой город. В Крыму люди должны молиться Луке Крымскому, чтобы он с моря, суши и воздуха защищал свой город. А когда бомбят Белгород, что-то я не услышал, я спрашивал, но не заметил. Нету такого ажиотажа молитвенного возле Иосафа, что народ не знает его. Иосаф Белгородский – это святой человек, который стоит вровень с тем же Николаем Чудотворцем. Значит, но это величайший человек, и его многие не знают. А белгородчане должны бы были, по идее, уже давным-давно прозреть и постоянно совершать молебные пения, крестные ходы, псалтирные чтения, коленопреклонения всякие, чтобы Господь помиловал. Это Теткино, Шебекино, Белгород и все остальное. Хочешь помочь белгородцам? Возьми, почитай Иосафу Акафист.
Again, why am I confused so many times when I hear this news? I thought that peace with neighboring country is achieved through ceasefire, through not bombing the neighboring country, so no bombs flying back to you. I think that's, I thought, pardon me, I thought that was as a key reason, the key circumstance, you know, the if you bomb your neighbor, that's where the root of all problems is. If you send troops and tanks through your city, then and the missiles fly back, that's where the root of the problems is. But I guess I'm wrong. Okay. Again, I admit I can be wrong, and in this case, I understand. I got what the Pope said, that the Belgorod residents should have prayed more, and they don't pray, and that's their fault, basically, as far as I understand the logic, that, the Belgorod is being bombed. If they prayed more, they prayed to Joseph Belgorodian, then the saint of the city, then things would be all right. What do you think? I don't call them crazy for nothing, there's news. The next news is actually good. Finally, good news. St. Petersburg. You all know the great city of St. Petersburg in Russia. The head of the Gorelova district, an equivalent of American county of Leningradsky province, Dmitry Ivanov organized a public charity assistance event. The participants of the war, the disabled, the poor, and the large families were given, well, this. Oops. Right here. This. I kid you not. They were given Heinz garlic sauce. After the grand government assistant event that was advertised, that's actually you see in the advertisement, the real advertisement on the social network, Russian social network, VK. So after this grand event, Dmitry Ivanov reported that the distribution of Heinz garlic sauce was a success. And he announced further similar actions. At first I thought it was a joke. Fact checked, of course, not a joke. It really happened. Here's the picture taken by press service of the town of Gorelova. You see a large truck full of cartons with Heinz garlic sauce. By the way, the picture has been deleted since, but we have copies. Both pictures, both advertising and the picture of this truck. The information started making waves around Russia. It was picked up by the media, independent media, Telegram channels, and so forth. And Dmitry Ivanov was criticized a lot. And he fired back. I quote, "The residents of Gorelova, belonging to the category of socially vulnerable segments of the population," that's just a fancy name for the poor, Russian officials use that all the time. Instead of just saying poor, they say categories, blah, blah. Anyway, so the poor are sincerely glad to receive any any assistance. Wait a second. Where is Gorelova? Perhaps it's a village in taiga somewhere far away. Perhaps it's really hard to get there. Perhaps it's, I don't know, just a poor location where like concentration of poor people. Because on Russian TV, we're hearing different things, completely different things. Like average Russian earns 200,000 rubles. That's what Vladimir Putin said. And by the way, that ketchup thing cost dollar and a half, perhaps $2, 200 rubles. So if an average person in Russia makes 200,000 rubles, then they can get thousands and thousands of this, ketchup thing, sauces, Heinz sauces. So perhaps it's a special place that is poor, Anyway, let's check out this map. No. Горелого is a part of St. Petersburg. If you look at that highlighted area, highlighted by the red, southwest of St. Petersburg, it's only 8 kilometers south of St. Petersburg. It's about 5 miles. It's right next to St. Petersburg Pulkovo Airport. I've been there many times. It's part of St. Petersburg. It's so close to the city, they probably have buses running there. It's so close to the city, it can be considered a part of the city. Let me get this straight. In a suburb of St. Petersburg, people live so poorly that they're thankful to get a small Heinz garlic sauce and be grateful for that and not find it offensive and insulting? My God, this is the tsunami. You're looking at it. Check this out right here. If people are so thankful for this, holy moly. Let me move to the next news. It's a news of the same kind. It's actually heartbreaking. I watched this video a few times, and it's difficult to watch it every single time. Check it out. This is the city of Kaluga again. Large Russian city, 160 kilometers from Moscow, 100 miles from Moscow, the capital of Russia. Children with disabilities have difficulty climbing the stairs to school due to the lack of ramp and lack of special staircase. City authorities claim that the restoration of the stairs is not planned as there are no funds allocated in the city's budget. Russia sends dozens of missiles to kill Ukrainians every single day. According to Forbes, Russian missiles, Russian particular missile called X-101 costs $13 million to produce. How many rockets like that fly to Ukraine every single day? So war is costing Russia billions and billions of rubles every single day, and the Russian leadership claims that Russia is doing great. Economy has been showing a healthy growth. People's salaries have been growing. Russia is finally getting up from its knees, and there are no shortages of food and things at stores. Well, when you hear that next time, or you hear anything in the West, anyone in the West reporting how wonderfully Russia is withstanding all the pressure of the international sanctions and its economy is growing, when you hear anyone for that matter, I want you to recall that video. Watch it again. Whew, it's hard. Before moving forward, I'd like to once again thank you. Thank you, those of you who have bought coffees at buymeacoffee.com. Your support shows that you value my work highly. And just know that it is very inspirational and it gives me energy to move forward. Thank you. Thank you, Saint. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The next news comes from the West. Well, it's not really news, it's a threat. Yeah, you probably in the West right now, if you didn't know that you're threatening Russia, well, you're gonna be informed now. Threat is coming from the West, directly from the evil, satanic West. Please now watch.
Очень сложно забеременеть многим женщинам. Запад здесь щупальцы пустил везде, как я считаю. На наши экраны, наши новости, те продукты, которые мы едим.
А как Запад
отравление.
связан с тем, что сложно забеременеть женщинам?
Геноцид. Чтобы русских людей было меньше. Да, пытаются, нас не уничтожишь. Мы сейчас нарожаем гораздо больше, еще нас не остановишь. Я очень рада, что у нас вот эти санкции, что многие продукты ушли с рынков. Нам это не нужно. Мы сейчас огороды засеем вкусняшками и будем как раньше. Вот этот Макдональдс, вот кому он нужен? Он же вредный очень, вкусный, зараза. Вот они этим и берут.
You see, when I try to apply logic and common sense to the problem of declining birth rate in Russia, and I have thought about it, that's a very serious problem, I always come up with these reasons. So many men have been mobilized, killed, or got maimed. So many men have fled the country. So men just don't want to have children in these crazy times, and many families don't feel financially strong enough to have kids because kids cost lots of money, you know. But this is what I think. I try to come up with logical reasons. But what do I know, right? This girl knows better. She's a pretty famous musician. In the West, they are threatening us. They sending us this terrible things. It's the West's fault. It's your fault. You watching me right now, you want Russian women not to have babies. You are making it difficult to get pregnant for them. You want genocide of Russian people. Did you hear what that lady said? The West has put its tentacles everywhere. The news, the food, even McDonald's. Oh my gosh. But I thought the media in Russia is completely controlled by the state. And actually, there's a law, the foreigners cannot own and control any media. And it's propaganda, obviously. And all the Western food companies left Russia 2 years ago. It means now this fertility rate must just jump up by a great deal because, hey, we don't have those bad Western foods, and now we have our own stuff, you know. And McDonald's, it also left. Moreover, on the 7th of June of this year, Anna Popova, the head of Rospotrebnadzor, country's food watchdog, said that Tasty Period, that the successor of McDonald's, it bought out McDonald's, has become an example of healthy food. Well, it's the same dishes. Everything is the same. They try to emulate McDonald's. So how's this? It doesn't make any sense, right? Well, apparently this girl knows better. And you know what? Most Russians believe her. I think that you are sitting in front of your screens right now, just about now, thinking, what the fudge? You know what? Guess what? I'm thinking the same thing. Hey, I don't call them crazy news for nothing. The next news is high tech. What do you think the best way to meet people these days? Well, I don't know about you, but I personally think the best way is face to face, person to person. Just to come to someone and introduce yourself and say, hello, my name is such and such. I guess I'm old-fashioned. Tinder is what is used by everyone, I guess. I got married to my wife, before Tinder was invented, so I didn't have a pleasure of using that software, you know. So we met in a very traditional way. We met just kind of, you know, at our alumni reunion at the university. So we met face to face. But I know that Tinder was madly popular in Russia. But like other Western companies, Tinder left Russia. You cannot use it in Russia any longer. So I really don't even know how they've been meeting people in Russia these years, you know. What I know is that it'll be different now. Russia has developed its own model of dating app instead of the departed Tinder. This new app, this new service is not just your algorithm connecting people, okay? No. It checks your debt and other personal information. So, the new Russian app called Sputnik, original name, Sputnik will replace Tinder, but with a bang. Tinder with a twist. Tinder twist, twisted Tinder. Sputnik will have access to national databases, different ones, run and created by the government, that will determine whether the user of this Sputnik has debts on taxes, alimony outstanding, or loans outstanding. In addition, a user would need to fill out a questionnaire and call the application administration via a video link. During video interview, a user would be asked questions about family, her or his family, health, and upbringing. Well, I think they're going to be asking about other things too, like do you support the war, or do you support our boys, or do you like the West, things like that. But what? It's just I'm just trying to kind of like, you know, thinking aloud, so to speak. So nice, huh? How about that, Elon Musk? Huh? A Russian Tinder with a twist. Twisted Tinder. Tinder twist. And who is the designer of the software? The company called the National Technological Initiative. Government funded, of course. The big brother also wants to know who you meet, date, and sleep with now. I'm just wondering, what kind of insane idiot would want to grant access to all personal information and be interviewed on things so personal that no one probably should know about? I'm telling you, them news are just getting crazier and crazier every single week. By the way, there will be many more news like that. There's a slew of news, and they come out every day. And if you want to keep up with other breaking news from Russia, not just wait until week's review on Friday. So become patron of Inside Russia, because every single day I carefully select and post 9 news that I find important. With my commentaries and analysis, I'll keep you informed on everything you wanted to know about Russia but were afraid to ask. Become patron at patreon.com and get the access to the news that matter and that are important. I'm gonna place the link down below after I finish the stream, right there. The next news is also from the world of high tech. For the first time in Russia, a flushable toilet paper sleeve was researched and developed. A flushable toilet paper sleeve. Toilet paper with such a sleeve is already on sale, and its brand is called Sophion. Earlier, Mikhail Yurin, the deputy head of the Ministry of Industry and Trade, the deputy head himself, promised to deal with the problem of the lack of flushable sleeves in rolls of toilet paper in Russia. He made a promise. He said he will research. The guy walks the walk. He promised to research, and he did. The deputy minister of the Ministry of Industry and Trade himself was controlling this very challenging research. Well, kudos to him and his large engineering research team. This technological breakthrough actually made the nationwide news. Russian propaganda has picked it up. And this is how I picked it up. This is how I learned. It's just one little thing, you know. I bought this toilet paper called Ziva for decades. Literally, for like 20 years. And this toilet paper on sale in Russian stores everywhere, literally everywhere, already had that flushable sleeve. Well, I can't say it's a rocket science to come up with a flushable sleeve. Do you see? Right here it says "смываемая втулка." That's what it is. You just throw it into the toilet and flush it, you know. And I guess it's made out of paper and it just disintegrates or whatever later. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know what? I thought about it and infuriating. But I said, I said to myself, Konstantin, wait, don't get upset. Try to find something good about this news. And actually I did. You know what? I'm glad that the deputy minister spent taxpayers' money and resources on researching flushable toilet paper sleeve. I am glad. I am. Because you've got to start somewhere. To research and manufacture semiconductors, airplane engines, cars, you know, computers, you name it, it takes decades. But you have to make the first step. And they just did. You know, Russia's been nullified, obviously. Tons of scientists have left. The country's educational system in ruins. The war is going on, right? So, but they made the first step. By designing the flushable sleeve, now it's going to take them, I don't know, 40, 50 years to catch up with the rest of the world, perhaps, if they're lucky, okay, if they're resourceful, if they're effective. If they stop the war and turn to the side of light, it, at best, will take decades and decades, but they took the first step. They started designing something. Do you know what they say in China? The road to a spaceship starts with a flushable toilet paper sleeve. The next news comes from country's capital, Moscow. Would you like to see lawlessness? How it looks like? Well, here it is. Welcome to Moscow, July 2024. There's a specially protected natural habitat in Moscow, in Krylatsky district. No one can build anything there. It's basically a forest and it's protected by the state. And a local developer is trying to build a few tenement blocks, basically to develop this area, completely disregarding the law. And local authorities and local police are probably covering the developer up, not doing much. Why am I saying that? Because you clearly see that developer moved heavy machinery to this protected area, the habitat, and started doing some kind of earthworks. So local residents came out to protest and blocked the construction equipment. And a goon hired by the developer comes up to scare them off and beat them up. Check this out.
Вы мне сейчас
Как вы,
чем угрожать
как вы
пытаетесь?
This is the
выразились по
guy.
поводу, как
Что
вы
убрать
сказали?
надо, куда убрать?
Лицо не убирайте уж, как вы...
Boom.
А, вот у вас пошли уже другие методы, да? Вот вы как Покровская Стрешнева-то. Вот как Покровская. Вы видели? Как вас зовут? Расскажите нам. Иди подальше отсюда. Ну, давай, расскажи, приди, ударь меня.
This is not mafia. This is not not like a criminal, or it's just a goon hired to scare people off. So this developer can go on doing whatever he started doing. And it's caught on camera. Guess what happened after this incident took place? Well, the guy clearly hit the person who was filming, okay? They were just not doing anything illegal. They were peacefully standing there, just filming. And they have all the rights according to the Russian constitution. So the fella who hit the cameraman, he broke Russian law. That's a felony. A police must come and arrest him. Faces on camera. Guess what happened? Nothing. Guess what's going to happen most likely? The people will be crushed. And the developer will start developing his project on the protected land with local approval of local authorities, you know. The whole thing is lawlessness. Lawlessness. Now, folks, I want you to ask you one thing. Please let me know, is that situation possible in the place where you live? Let me know down below in the comments. I would really like to hear that. The next news, what I call sad high tech. Sad high tech. Said Anton Nemkin, a member of State Duma, Russian Parliament Committee on Information Policy, just told the newspaper called the Parliament newspaper. That's a newspaper printed as official information agency of Russian Parliament. So he just told the newspaper that WhatsApp Messenger has started to be slowed down in Russia. Now, most Russians use two messengers to communicate with each other. It's very different from Europeans, and it's very different from Americans. We use WhatsApp and Telegram. WhatsApp is basically the staples of messaging. The problem is that it's, the whole thing belongs to the KGB. That KGB has ins and outs of that thing. And people are afraid to use that. Telegram seems to be much more secure, and KGB cannot break Telegram. At least there hasn't been any cases reported so far. So WhatsApp Messenger has started to be slowed down. According to this fella, the next step may be complete blocking WhatsApp. But the decision has not been made yet. I quote, "The demands have been sent to WhatsApp administration more than once, in particular to stop the spread of calls to participate in extremist actions, but no reaction has followed from the administration of this app. Chats in which such information is distributed continue to multiply, and this puts our citizens in a vulnerable, unsafe position, which, of course, we cannot allow," unquote. He also stated that the Russian authorities now have the opportunity to block Telegram, the second messenger that Russians are widely using. He said that the great technological progress has been made in this direction in the last 6 years. And I believe him. I believe him. Previously, the government announced that it started slowing down YouTube due to Google leaving Russia and stopping upgrading and maintaining its servers in Russia. And that reason they gave, of course, is a lie. They have started testing, but that's a fact. They have started slowing down YouTube, okay? They talked the talk for a long time, and now they start walking the walk. The Russian media, Gazeta.ru, reported on government's plans to block YouTube in Russia in September, Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov said at the same time that the Russian authorities have no plans to restrict access to the service, to YouTube. Peskov saying that, oh, that spells trouble. It means that the completely opposite of what he's saying will happen. So we can take his words to the bank. He says they have no plans of blocking YouTube. There are plans, and they have already started slowing it down. This news is very disturbing. It's life-changing for many people in Russia. Sad, but expected. I plan on making a separate stream on this topic on YouTube and the messengers being blocked in Russia in the future. Please let me know down below in the comments if you would like me to explore this topic in depth in the following days. I'm thinking, so let me know. Would you be interested? I need your feedback. Thank you. The next news is shameful. Shameful. Again, one of those things I don't know how to approach. Okay. This is Russia, 21st century. An imam, an Islamic priest from Kazan, explains men how to beat their wives properly.
Есть мисвак, палочка маленькая, которая мусульман, да, и вот аккуратно жене пару раз ударить мисваком, когда рука работает только от локтя, то есть не полностью плечевой сустав работает, а от локтя, маленькими ударами. Этот смысл в том, чтобы не нанести увечье человеку, не оставить синяки, а аккуратно дать понять человеку: остановись, ты делаешь неправильно, и что муж уже недоволен, что он уже дошел до того, что он уже поднимает руку.
So this guy teaches not to maim, teaches men not to maim their women, not wives, not to leave bruises, but to beat them in a way that bruiseless and. You know, I watched. That's a longer video. I watched more. He speaks of many other Islamic traditions and things, but I found only this part worth showing you. And I think he says enough. I am so ashamed. I don't know what to say, but folks, please know that there are so many Russian men who love their wives and never beat them. Many men don't even think of, come on, beating. This is so disgusting. My father and mom, I don't remember my father even like raising voice on my mom, and then vice versa. My wife is my best friend, my partner, my lover. She's mother of my children. I want to hold her in my hands all the time. Beating. You know, I'm still as shocked as you are. But hey, this is Russia, 2024. It's unbelievable. Okay, before I move on to the last news, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please let me know. Well, first, pick 3 news that you like the most, and let me know what they are down below in the comments after the stream ends. Right there. I try to finesse news selection every single week, and hearing your feedback is very important. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. So, the last news, it's actually a set of news. It's not just one piece of news. I've chosen these news because I think they show the real current state of things in Russia. Check them out. Decide for yourself. Decide whether you believe Western organizations and Russian politicians who claim that Russia is doing mighty fine and that the Russian economy is growing. I personally find that the Titanic is full of water, submerged, and going down very fast, bringing whoever on board down with it. I personally think that week 28 has been the worst week, the most difficult week for Russia so far. And this is the proof. I'm going to give it to you now. The Federal Anti-Monopoly Service, in Russia it's called FAS, starts sending requests to oil companies demanding explanations and economic justification for the increases in the wholesale price of premium gasoline. On the afternoon of July 17th, it became known that gasoline prices on the wholesale commodity stock exchange rose to their highest since September. During the trading, the price of premium gas increased to 73.1 thousand rubles per ton, and the price of regular gas exceeded 57,000 rubles per ton. Anti-Monopoly Service starts interfering, or at least it's trying. It's requesting explanations. Why this is happening? Well, we all know why. Because there's the catastrophe in the oil refining industry due to a few reasons. The equipment aging, lack of service, lack of spare parts, and of course Ukrainian drone attacks, multiple ones. And the problems are growing. It's gotten so bad that the state first made all information about oil refining top secret, and now it's sending its antitrust agency to try somehow slow down prices increase. And the prices, they are skyrocketing. And I am pretty sure that very soon, in the course of 2024, we will see shortages of gas in some parts of Russia. Now, next, the central bank suspends all publications of data on the volume of over-the-counter trading in dollars, euros, and Chinese yuan against the ruble, with the goal to, I quote, limit the impact of international sanctions. Limit the impact of sanctions, my flushable toilet paper sleeve. We all know why they have done that. The central bank is in panic. It has no idea how to handle and regulate exchanging ruble and foreign currencies anymore, since Moscow Currency Exchange has been banned, sanctioned by the US State Department. Now, next one. The Chinese banks have recently stopped accepting payments from Russia completely. In the previous months, small banks were still accepting payments. It was possible to somehow get the money there. It was much more expensive and it took longer time. But this is it. The window is closed. Next, the central bank executives urge everyone to find a way, even an archaic one such as barter with China, to deal with China, to trade with China. Otherwise, in the fall, there will be shortages of stuff in Russia. Next, the south of Russia is currently experiencing the worst electricity blackout in history. According to official media, read Russian propaganda, a few million residents have been affected. And the propaganda always downplays troubles. It sugarcoats. It is safe to say that if propaganda says a few million people, then it means in reality quite a few million people. Rostov nuclear power plant has been put out of operation for the reasons unknown, and no one believes the reasons given by the authorities. I don't. Meanwhile, the mayor of Nevenomysk, Stavropol province city in the southern Russia, affected by the blackout, urged the residents to remember the difficult times of World War II. Mikhail Minenkov called for recalling the experience of the ancestors and be patient. He also reminded that to the residents of the city that people in Shebekina and Belgorod in the war zone are living now in much worse conditions. So people in Nevenomyssk should be thankful for having this blackout just once in a while, okay? Well, I thought that after doing today's stream, I'm start wondering. I think that people of Belgrade just don't pray enough, but what do I know again? Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin comes out and tells everyone that blackouts are happening in a number of provinces, and they're caused by the growth of increase of cryptocurrency mining. So it's people's own fault. They mine cryptocurrency so much. They're so filthy rich with this cryptocurrency, then, there's blackouts is the price to pay. Well, he promises to rectify the situation by taxing cryptocurrency miners. Yeah, that's gonna solve the problem. Meanwhile, the residents of Krasnodar are clashing with the police today, and many are arrested. One thing I don't understand, I understand the outrage of those people in Krasnodar, but one thing I don't understand is that what are they demanding right now? Because once electricity is down, it's not so easy, not so fast to get a heat power plant to get up and running again, to get a turbine. It takes, first of all, you need to fix the problem. And many of the turbines and much of the equipment is foreign made, no spare parts, and I don't really know what they're going to do. And there's no service. If your turbine broke down in the past, you just call Moscow, Siemens, and they send your engineer in a couple hours, or perhaps the engineer right on the side, and then they start fixing it. What are they going to do now? These people don't understand. It's too late. You can't just turn electricity just like that, Anyway, and this is, don't forget, this is summer. This is when electricity and heat infrastructure in Russia is renovated, fixed, upgraded, and prepared for winter. In Russian, it's called подготовка к отопительному сезону, preparation for heating season. The real test will come in winter. But it's already catastrophically bad now, and I don't know what they're gonna do in the winter. Meanwhile, Russian central bank will increase the key interest rate next week from incredibly high 16%, the current key rate, to the astronomical 18%. And some experts are forecasting unheard rate of 20%. That will finish off remaining profitable businesses and real estate market, and it will give another impulse to already high inflation. And the next, already high inflation is increasing even more. The last 2 weeks were the worst week, worst 2 weeks in the entire year, because July 1st, all utility companies in Russia, state-owned by the way, raised the tariffs significantly by a range from 11 to 13%. All utility companies, natural gas, electricity, water, trash removal, everything, July has been the worst for inflation yet. Next, the so-called quiet banking crisis was announced by the Russian government this last week. And that is just the forerunner for the major banking crisis expected this fall. I've been talking about it for 2 years now. And that is a major trouble coming to Russia. So I will do a dedicated live stream for that, just for that only. Please keep on tuning in, sometimes next week. In June, we saw a slow decrease in the export of Russia's federal budget bread maker, oil. It was decreasing, but slowly. And in the first week of July, we saw a sharp decrease of oil export by 1/3, or by 1 million barrels. That was reported by Bloomberg. And the reasons, so far it's hard to say, but most likely it's the secondary sanctions of Russia's oil tanker shadow fleet finally hitting Russia hard. Tsunami is here. And the cherry on the top of the cake is of the week 28 news is Rosatom, the state-owned monopoly, announced this past week that it has serious difficulties in finishing the construction of the nuclear power plant called Akuyu in Turkey, due to the USA blocking the money allocated for the project overseas and inability to conduct payments to Turkey due to the sanctions. Folks, this is how the tsunami that I've been talking about looks like. It's not just the economy any longer. It's one huge country-destroying tsunami. It's everything. The state headed by Putin and his clique holds responsibility, yes, for everything that is going on. It's them doing it. But the very fabric of this tsunami is weaved from big and small tragedies of regular people, both of Russia and Ukraine. I believe that the country's demise has entered its final stage and it's irreversible now. Week 28 has been the worst one yet, but the best one of those that will come later, that will come after it. And if you want to know why Russian officials have suddenly started falling out of windows, that's a recent development, please check out another video I made. I'm gonna put the link right here.